Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. This is Razor from the Horror Syndicate, and this is the Horror Syndicate Discourse. And tonight we're going to talk about a couple of movies from the 1960s. The Innocents, which was new to me, even though I've seen another property that is based on The Haunting of Bly Manor on Netflix, and The Haunting from 1963, which both are bona fide classics. I've seen The Innocents put in a lot of top 10, top 20 all-time horror lists. So we got a couple of good ones to talk about tonight. We do have Jared and Nate with us. Before that, I wanted to real quick give a shout out to Mike Lombardo. His book was recently released. Please do not don't tap on the glass. Mike Lombardo, of course, is a friend of the show. He used to be on the Horror Syndicate Lives show with us, and he's the award-winning director of I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday, which actually there's a short story in there for I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday. I will put the link for the book it's on Amazon only, I believe. Mike actually was nice enough to sign my copy, and he's a good guy, good movie. You can also get On Dreaming of a White Doomsday on ScreamTeamReleasing.com, along with 1031 Part 3 is available now, and I got a review coming out for that very soon. But we're going to talk about some classics tonight. Not that
He said his cable's loose tonight.
Yeah, every time I touch my computer, my cable comes loose. Anyway, here's Nate and here's Jared. So sorry about that. Guys, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good.
Good. All right.
Very well, thank you for joining.
We should be in black and white.
Is there a way there's a setting to do that?
That would be rad.
That would be cool. Do that all throughout October when we're doing our Universal stuff. I don't know if there is a...
Come on, StreamYard, black and white.
Yeah, come on now.
Virtual background.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so Alex is here. If you're here, let us know. Let us know if you've seen The Haunting or The Innocents. I think, excuse me, I think The Innocents is one that not very many people watch or have seen. It's not available streaming anywhere, although I found a copy on YouTube. Nate tells me it's the Criterion version. That's why it looks so. It looked and sounded really good. So it's on YouTube available. The Haunting is another one that's not available streaming unless you want to pay for it. I have an old DVD copy that I watched last night, and it's better than the 1999 Haunting. So, also, if you're familiar with The Haunting of Hill House, either the book or the Netflix series, this movie that we're talking about is based on the book, and the Netflix series is based on the book as well. So, all right. Seth is here now. I see a Seth T. Miller. Seth, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up?
Did you just tell me to go fuck myself? I wouldn't doubt it. Anyway, no. So, Nate, these movies came at your request. Tell us a little bit why you've been itching to talk about these two movies.
Well, I feel like we hadn't really done much of the 60s. I think
Did we do a top 10 60s episode?
Maybe. I think we've done. I mean, we've done like the big. I think we've done Night of the Living Dead, maybe, and Psycho, maybe, and Rosemary, I think, but I don't think we've done anything else other than that. And a lot of the reason I wanted to revisit them because I hadn't seen The Innocents since like the 90s, so I didn't remember much. And I had and The Haunting I'd seen a couple times, but I wanted to go back into them. Both of them top-notch filmmaking, especially in the cinematography department. Like The Innocents, especially, was shot by what's his name? Rich. Why am I blanking all of a sudden? No, that was the director, the cinematographer.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, damn it. Anyway, the cinematographer, like he's shot a lot of great films, won Oscars for cinematography. That's Freddie Francis. For some reason, I was thinking something else. But he said this is his greatest work, and I agree. Like I'm definitely gonna jump into cinematography on this one. But other than that, I'm glad I did because I have this whole new appreciation for The Innocents because it's my preferred out of the two. I just was really blown away by it.
Sorry, I'm making sure my volume's down. Yeah, I figured watching these movies, and The Innocents is, I would agree with you, is the better of the two after watching The Haunting again, because I had never seen The Innocents as far as I can remember, but I did prefer it of the two. Jared, why is your background blurry?
It's one of the virtual backgrounds, man. It's like I got something to hide.
You got a long lens.
Yeah. You shoot me with a very long lens. Seth, did you get a chance to watch these movies?
Yeah, I watched the Innocents for the first time.
What was your impression of that?
It was definitely well made. You know, like Nate was saying, the cinematography is incredible in that movie. And I watched it on YouTube, so I saw the Criterion version. So it looked really good all the way through, and
Looked really sharp.
It's so pretty. That's like wow. Because I was watching it on my old DVD, and I'm like, I'm going to turn on you too because Ray was talking about how pretty it was. I'm like, my copy looked like crap. So I had an actual physical release and it looked bad. So it's definitely a criterion I'm adding to my collection. So.
I think I'm going to also, yeah, because some of those early 2000s DVDs, they just don't hold up. Like, you can get some DVDs nowadays that do look pretty good, but some of them just don't hold up, especially the older ones. Tried watching Overboard a couple months ago, and, from 87 or whatever, with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. I love that movie. I'm sorry.
That's a fun one.
That movie's awesome. Don't be sorry.
Okay, good.
That movie's hilarious.
Yeah, so I tried watching that on my DVD that I've had for 15, 20 years, and it just wasn't working. So we had to end up watching it on HBO Max. If I have something on DVD, I go for that first rather than going to streaming first. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
Unless I don't have it, which The Innocents I don't have, I'd like to get a copy. The Criterion is the way to go. Also, Criterion put out Night of the Living Dead a couple years ago, and it looks phenomenal and sounds better than it ever has. So, anyway, so Jared, what about you in The Innocents? Was this the first for you, or?
No, actually, it was my second time. I believe, was it 2017? We did like a 200 or 250 list of like all-time flicks. Ray, you like sent out a spreadsheet. I don't remember if it was 16 or 17. You did that, and that movie.
I think you're right. I think it was 17.
And that movie was on the list, and that was one of the ones I was like, I've never even heard of this fucking movie. So I like went out of my way to find a way to watch it, and I think I did watch it on YouTube, but it definitely wasn't this newer Criterion version. And I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
But the second time around, there was definitely more that I noticed, I think. But we can always get into that once we get into the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, The Innocents is a movie that I've slept on, obviously, for 42 years. Again, just like Rillington Place, a movie but I've heard of The Innocents because I've seen it on a lot of top horror lists. And like, I don't know why I didn't get a chance to watch it or why I passed it up, but I'm glad I finally watched it. It's odd seeing it after seeing the Netflix series on the Bly Manor, because there's a lot. They were very faithful to the book, I'm guessing, The Turn of the Screw. So anyway, I know Nate, you want to get into cinematography. We want to talk about some of the performances also, and because. Oh God, what's her name? The lead actress.
Deborah Kerr.
Deborah Kerr. Yeah, she was amazing in that film.
Yeah.
So we are talking about the Innocents.
Crawford.
She was a star. I mean, she's a great actress. She did so many things. But I mentioned another movie on here, Black Narcissus, and she was the star of that one, which is borderline horror as well from the 40s, or maybe in the early 50s. It was before this movie. But yeah, the performances, Deborah's fantastic in it. Mm-hmm. But that little boy who's from Village of the Damned as well. He was one of the kids.
That's who that was.
Yeah, he was the main kid in Village of the Damned.
Yeah, he's so phenomenal in this movie. I think he was about 11 or 12 when he did this. And I was just really amazed by his performance.
No, his performance was pretty great. I mean, he was able to play so many different ways in that film, especially when he was being very sly and like he was really good at that. And you see, back in those days in the '60s, you don't think that kid actors are as polished as he was in that film, because he did a really good job for what he was doing.
Yeah.
So
both of the kids are really fantastic, and chilling. And the cool thing, one of the things I love about this film is it's so open to interpretation. There's so many possibilities of how you can read this movie, even to the point where, first of all, Truman Capote wrote the screenplay, which is just amazing. And Truman and one of the other writers kind of felt like they are ghosts, but their director's like, well, I don't know if they're ghosts. Like, so even the people who made the movie don't have an answer and don't want to have an answer. Like, there's so many possibilities of what really happens and what's really going on. And that's, I think, why I lean towards this movie more than I did The Haunting, because Haunting's fucking fantastic too. It's a classic. It's one of the best of the '60s easily. Also great cinematography, great stuff going on there.
The sets are amazing in both movies also.
Yeah. I think what it is about The Innocents is everything's more subtle in terms of it's very again, Truman Capote writing the screenplay. You got a good writer there who is leaving things very a lot of ambiguity in that screenplay, where there's so many things that you can read into things, and I definitely want to jump into all these possibilities, what you guys think happened, what you think is going on, and what, because there's so many, and that's what's really cool about it. Because you could watch it, because I watched last night not remembering anything really, and the whole time my wife, my daughter were watching it, and we're like, are they ghosts? Is it ghosts? Are the kids evil? Or there's so many, like, you have no idea where it's going. And then when you get to the end of it, a lot of people on Amazon, which we'll get into, don't think it has an ending and doesn't have an answer, which it kind of doesn't. But
it's very abrupt, yeah.
But it's still like, that's part of its power, is that it leaves you. You could talk about this movie for hours or for forever and never. And come up with so many different possibilities of what happened. And The Haunting has that too. There's a lot of like what's going on there, like what's happening.
I don't know. I feel like The Haunting may be more upfront about what's going on in that movie versus The Innocents.
It is, but there's also some things in there that I watched, that I heard, that I'm like, could it be this? So we'll bring it up when we get there, but I guess we're starting with Innocence, since it's the first one, 1961.
That's the only reason I went with that one.
Yeah.
Because 61 versus 63.
So what do you guys think is happening, or do you think there's all these different, did you see all those open interpretations?
Well, first of all, I thought that the two people who passed away, I can't remember their names, the guy and the woman, I thought it was more of a possession thing. It seemed like that, well, maybe not possession, but the ghosts were controlling the children.
Yeah.
Which was driving the nanny or whatever she was mad. And but the thing is, like, when they were separated later on in the movie, it's like you didn't get that. And plus the way the boy acted, he acted sometimes very mature for his age.
Yeah.
And saying things that were very mature.
Dear.
Yeah, so like I just assumed that, where I never thought the kids were ghosts, because they went to the train station, they left the property, and I don't know if that's what their ghost rules might be in this movie, but like generally, they haunt where they are or whatever, right? Most ghosts do. So I don't know. I just thought it was more of a possession thing than anything else. Luke's here. Hey, Luke. What's up, bro?
That's a valid thing. Like Nate was saying, it's definitely open for interpretation, and his cable wiggled loose.
So what do you think, Jared?
I can kind of think, like, side with that a little bit, because they did. There were moments where both children seemed a little bit older than they truly were.
Mm-hmm.
Even the girl at times as Ray was alluding to, like she was acted a little bit more mature in a couple of scenes, and then reverted back to her, "Let's go out and play, okay? Yeah." So I mean, that's a very valid point. I can definitely see some of that where it may not be the people who died; it could be the house. Like,
I think it's definitely the people who died. I think it's very tied to them because they kept going to go to the water, the lake or whatever, and I think that played a big part in those because the two ghosts or whatever they were like lovers, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think something maybe they were killed in the water or something along those lines. That something had to do with the lake.
Well, the last lady, the girl was the other. What do they call it?
governess.
The
Governess.
Yeah.
And she killed herself. She jumped in the lake.
That's right.
And the
And
guy
was
fell on the stairs. The other guy was was like the chauffeur or the valet or something. They call him the valet.
Oh no, the uncle was the guy who hired the.
Yeah,
Okay,
Michael Redgrave was the guy
Yeah.
that hired. So what do you think, Seth?
I lean towards the sort of like almost like I don't know. The Quentin, the former governess, were definitely ghosts, and it's almost like they were controlling the children like puppets. That's what I took away from it, especially at that scene towards the end where Quint appears, in the window, and the kid is starting to say some really harsh stuff.
Calls her hussy and everything.
Yeah, and the way he's laughing and the way they're both laughing, it's sort of like that part of the kid was actually the ghost of Quint talking. That's what I took out of it.
Yeah. That's kind of how I felt too.
Like maybe they didn't, they control the kids a lot, and not every scene with the kids in it was the kid in control. I think there's many scenes where it was the kids were actually controlled or possessed or whatever.
Those are definitely on the table. Like I said, there really are endless things that are happening, possibilities, and that is a definite on the table. They were ghosts. They were possessing the kids. But some of the other things, one of the other perspectives is that Deborah Kerr's character, from the very beginning, like when she's talking to Michael Redgrave, getting the job, his first question is, do you have a good imagination? Or do you have an imagination? And she says, yeah. And the thing is, like, there's part of it's like, is this really just in her fucking head? Like, is it just her imagination and she's imagining all these things? And a lot of this, it comes into, and Capote said he worked on this because a lot of people have read into Turn of the Screw that there is a psychosexual repression going on with her because she is a virgin. She grew up in a very small house with a priest father.
Yeah, daughter of a vicar.
She's sexually repressed, and she's sheltered. She's a sheltered woman, and she comes here. And I think like the innocents, of course, are the kids. That's how she sees the innocent characters in this story. But like I said, yeah, the nanny or the maid or whatever is telling her that this couple, the last lady and the guy, the valet, were not only having a thing, but they were openly having sex in the house in front of everybody, in front of the kids, in front of the maids, every room. She said they were there. And so she's hearing that when she's getting haunted is like the children are watching and things. And they said that the kids were really close with them. So she starts to think that these kids saw that. And there's even speculation that the kids were involved, that there was sexual abuse with the kids.
Oh, shit.
And that the kids, the stuff they're saying, the adult talking, him kissing her on the lips, is because that's what he observed, and he got in trouble at school because he'd become really close with that guy, and that guy had rubbed off on him, and that guy was just an ornery, awful person, and he rubbed off on him and influenced them. So that's why they talk adult, because they were so close to these people, and these people were not treating them like kids. They were maybe even involving them in their dirty shit going on.
And they never did say why he got kicked out of school, right?
No, they never tell you why. They leave it very open, like, and it goes to her imagination. What did he do? So it gets her wheels spinning, and so, but right away she starts hearing shit. She starts seeing shit. So it's like, is it ghosts or is it just that she is? She's a little bit mad and insane from the way she's been brought up, her sexual repression kind of thing. And if you watch that scene where she's being interviewed, she's kind of seduced by that guy. Like, even though he's not seducing her, if you watch her performance, if you go back and watch this movie, watch Deborah's performance, which I did today because I wanted to watch it. She, she does these little things. She's doing all kinds of things without saying anything, but the way she responds or looks at people and the way she looks at the boy, there's a concern, but there's also almost an attraction. So there is one theory that she is into the boy. There's a pedophilia thing, that she's attracted to the boy because the boy's showing her such affection. He's complimenting her so much. And when she does, she gets really kind of, she gets really almost like she's questioning, I shouldn't be responding to that this way. Yeah. And I started to think, well, maybe it's not that. Maybe it's that because she is so sexually repressed and she hears this story about this last lady who was seduced by this man. Maybe she's like, like dreaming about that. I wish that would happen to me. I wish some guy would seduce me or fall in love with me and I would be able to do that type of stuff. But there's so many but then again, she does think that the kids are corrupted by them and she has to save them from these ghosts, these people. And that's what her goal becomes. And in the end, when she forces the little girl to look at the ghost, the girl doesn't see it, but it traumatizes her because the maid in the beginning said they were really, really super close. And the girl took that girl's death hard. So he was saving her from the memory, but she was forcing her to remember and think of the woman and think of the lake and where the girl died. That's why the girl's screaming and going, because she's been forced to remember the memory of that woman dying and everything. And the boy, when he dies at the end from shock or whatever it is, he screams, "You devil!" But it's like, is he talking to the ghost or is he talking to her? Before he blanks out. There's so many roads this goes down. That's why it's really cool, because there really isn't a right or wrong answer, because it's all in there, because Truman Capote put it all in there and Clayton put it all in there.
Yeah, because that scene you were just talking about, I thought he was referring to the ghost. I thought it was.
He says "you devil," but he actually looks at her when he says it. So it's just kind of, it's like he doesn't look up to see. It's just left so open to interpretation that I think that's what really.
Well, how did you interpret it? I mean,
I don't have an answer. I think it's all of those are possible. Like I was reading, hearing all these things. I'm like, well, it could be this, and it could be that, or they could be ghosts, or it could be all in her head, because she's not sane. Like, there's no way she's sane. She is manic.
She's definitely got issues.
Yeah. And this whole obsession with it. I mean, and also I do think she's lusting after this guy, because remember she has the picture in her of the picture of him.
Oh yeah.
And there's parts where there's another part. It's all in this dialogue. The boy says that to her, "Yeah, my sister says she hears you moaning and groaning at night." Was she masturbating to this guy's picture, or what? I mean, it's
racy for 61.
Yeah, it's very sexual. There's a lot of sexuality in this story. And again, when he kisses her on the mouth,
it lasts way too long. First of all,
it lasts too long. She doesn't push him away, and the way she reacts is kind of like, "Oh my god!" Like she's almost into it, but then she like shakes off, like, "Oh fuck!" Like what the fuck? Right. And then at the end, she kisses him when he dies on the mouth.
Kiss of death.
And some people say, well, that's kind of like Sleeping Beauty. Like she thinks that she's exorcised the demon out of him and he's free. She's freed the children of this possession.
I can see that, but
yeah.
Well, yeah, she's going to wake him up, or something.
The last, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of the movie, she's convinced, that there's something wrong with the boy and that she can fix him. Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense what you just said. about
she
that.
tells everybody to go away and just be me and him. It was kind of like,
Yeah,
what? Huh?
Yeah.
That's where I also got that kind of weird vibe, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where she's wanting everybody to leave because of the night they had previously. It's just going to be me and him. Okay, everybody get out of here. Definitely got a weird vibe from that moment. But
So it's kind of like we're not expecting the protagonist to be a pedophile, possibly, or a very
Inadvertently.
insane. But I mean, why? I mean, it's believable that the writer wrote that into the novel in 1800s, but carefully, and Truman Capote carefully put it in there.
Is that why it's called Turn Up the Screw? Yeah. I don't know. I never I didn't pick up that stuff. I just thought it was odd that the kid, because I thought it was a possession. So when the kid first, it disturbed me because it was a 11-year-old boy and a 30-year-old, however old she was, a woman kissing. It was almost as disturbing as in Burial Ground when the kid bites his mom's tit off. My top 10 of the kids, 80s, by the way.
And the kids are always whispering, and she's thinking they're keeping secrets, and they keep talking about secrets and secrets and secrets. And she's obsessed with that. She said in the beginning she lived in a house that was so small there were no secrets kept. You couldn't keep secrets. So I mean, there's just, again, it's so layered. There's so much. If you go back and watch it, you'll pick up more things.
I just thought of it. You can almost see a parallel between her and Eleanor from The Haunting, almost.
There's a lot. She's a repressed character.
Exactly. Yeah, I didn't think about that. So yeah, very much so. After watching that last night, so these movies kind of go together.
They're very alike.
Yeah. Very, very alike. And did you have any reviews?
Yeah, Innocence had more negative reviews than Haunting did. People hate it and just find it boring, which is understandable if you're not really paying attention or wanting to engage in this movie. You probably are like, because this is the kind of horror that people today don't really crave anymore. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I could totally see why both these movies would have. See, that's the thing about watching movies from the '60s and pre Texas Chainsaw, Exorcist. Which I think that's a good cut off. Some people would say Night of the Living Dead, but I think those two took it to more extreme.
Well, people look at these and they go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off.
You're probably going to make the same point I am. People look at these and don't understand. I can see where people will be scared, or have especially with The Haunting. When we get to that, I'll talk about that. But yeah, go ahead. Say what you were going to say.
Exactly. It's not scary. It's not scary, but it kind of really is. Like both films are shot really well, but also the sound design in both films are very, very effective. And I think it's even more effective in Innocence because it's done more reserved than The Haunting, just like bang, bang, boom, boom, crank, crank. But this movie, it's got some eerie sounds going on and whispers and voices and things, which is. But one of the other things that really makes this movie, the cinematography wise, is how he used that widescreen, where he had characters over here and here, and he was working. And the way things flow, there's and a lot of times when Deborah's walking, she looks like she's floating because she's got that big dress and the way the camera's falling. There's one beautiful, I don't know how they did. They must have done it some way where the maid is following her and Deborah's coming up the stairs, and the camera's on the stair, going up the stairs with her, but it looks like it's just this amazing shot. I'm like, wow, how did they have it on a rig, or was somebody?
There's an example of.
Yeah, this type of framing there, he used the widescreen because this was at a time where TV was becoming more popular. So cinema, the filmmakers and studios started going to the widescreen to give you something more, give you more things that you can't do on a TV set. And so his use, and he used all these different special lenses, and he even towards the parts where she's going through the house, he used a vignetting thing where he actually painted the edges of the lens to give you, if you look at some of the shots in the dark, you can't see the edges of the screen. And also doing that type of framing always makes you look towards the empty space. You put a character on this edge, you're watching a horror movie, you're looking in the windows. And that window, one of the great things Truman added was the all the statues out there, because you can see those statues out windows all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're figures. You're like, is that a person? Is that a ghost? What is that? So
I wonder if,
you can really
go
ahead.
Sorry, Nate.
I'm
I was going to say, I wonder if Scott Derrickson took some direction from this when he did Sinister, because you see a lot of that with Ethan Hawke and Sinister, where the screen is like completely black on one side. You just see him, and you're expecting or looking at the black space, the blank space, the negative space. I want because I noticed that while watching this, there's a lot of similarities. I wonder if Derrickson pulled from The Innocents.
I'm sure he's watched this movie.
He's an underrated director. I'll be right back. I hear my kids.
Well, I've talked a lot. Anybody else got anything to add?
Well, I was also going to piggyback on having Truman Capote, literally one of the best, hardcore pulp writers of the 20th century. Like, you see the credits roll by and you see screenplay by Truman Capote, you're like, what? You're not expecting that at all. And there was a documentary on YouTube after I watched the film that was from the BBC that I actually got a little bit of extra information for. Like he came in and brought more from the novel back into the script than they were anticipating, because you saw how beautiful everything was at the first part of the movie, which the cinematographer was Freddie Francis, right?
Yeah.
Like, give credit to Freddie too. Like, when you see her walk into this beautiful fucking courtyard, and like, even with black and white, you can just imagine how beautiful it is in color. And I even told Beth when I was watching it yesterday, it's like, imagine this in Technicolor, how beautiful this whole area would be when she walks in to her new job, and then it slowly descends into this disgusting, like, yeah, it looks nice on the inside, but you start to see like bugs crawling out of like mat.
That shot was awesome.
Yeah,
just the statue holding two like hands that have been severed from a body, and the bug comes out of its mouth.
Yeah, like they do this great evolution of this beautiful landscape that she walks in, and then it turns into complete disarray. Like, I guess I've never read the book, but I guess in the book the mansion was supposed to be derelict when she got there. Like, it was already supposed to be in disarray, and like, yeah, we have these kids that are still living here. We need some help.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine what that would be like.
Well, it's like when she walks in, like I think I watched that documentary too, where like she walks in and grabs the white roses, and the petals start falling apart, like the flowers are falling apart.
Yeah, that was
like,
that was
like, oh, everything's not exactly perfect and beautiful as she's thinking it is. There's something falling apart, and these are all just visual storytelling that we don't see done much anymore, because it's all about, let's get to the scares. And this movie is giving information that you're not really getting unless you are really watching and paying attention. That's really why I watched it twice in 24 hours, because I just wanted to catch as much as I could. Because the first time I was rewatching it, but I had seen it for 25 years or so, so I just didn't remember. And I was like, for some reason I got it mixed up with the others. For some I thought they were the same movie.
I think it's based on the same story.
Yeah, which in the others, like, they're all ghosts, right? They're all dead. And so I'm sitting there watching the movie going, well, most of these people are ghosts. They don't know it. Or something like that. I kept thinking that. So when I got to the end, I'm like, no, that wasn't the fucking story. So now I need to go back and watch it again, and really, now that I know and understand and pay attention to dialogue and what is being said, because there's a lot of story and there's a lot of things being said by the kids that is ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know. And like, I love the little things, like when she would be talking to the kids about ghosts, or talking about them, and they just completely ignore her. They don't talk, they don't respond, so they just keep playing along and act like, and just little things like that. And then like we talk about the maturity, like the boy when they're playing dress up as king and queen, and he comes and does that poem. It was a great poem. I'm like, what is that from? And it was something Truman wrote. It wasn't like some existing poem. But yeah, like this is a movie I could watch again and again and again, just for just so many reasons, just for how beautiful it is, how well it's written, how well it's acted, and I think it is scary. I think I would love to see this in the theater. Just got a lot of atmosphere, just as does The Hauntings.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good theatrical experience too. There is a lot. You talk about atmosphere. That's one of the things that, especially in movies from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and early 60s, is that you come to expect as a good horror film from those decades usually oozes with atmosphere. And I think a lot of that is the cinematography. And again, I'll go back to set design, and Jared kind of touched on that with how it was a beautiful set walking in. It's just, there's a lot to that for me. I pay attention to that stuff. I think a lot of it becomes from watching the old Universal movies, because some of those fantastic sets they were always on. And with black and white movies not having the color or the gore or the action or the pacing's a lot different in these movies. That's another thing people don't understand when watching these older movies. The pacing's a lot different. Where I think set design is very important in these older movies than it might be in a movie like I don't know, Humanoids from the Deep.
Yeah. Well,
So-
a lot of people watch these type of movies and they don't think anything's happening,
Right.
and they just like, this is boring, and it's like,
But
you're not reading between the lines, man.
Right.
There's
Not
lots
only
of
that,
shit
there's constant tension building in this movie.
Yeah.
Like from the get go, even in the interview, there's a little bit of I felt tension anyway.
Yeah.
So like that's one of the best things about the tent is there's a build up throughout the entire film. Same thing with The Haunting.
Yeah, just watch that interview one more time, real quick, and watch her performance, her responses to him, and her nonverbal responses, reactions. Her performance is really strong, and she was apparently really, really proud of this film. Like, some people don't take it serious because it was a horror movie.
Yeah.
A lot of the comments I saw on Amazon were, "Why would Deborah do this movie? She's a classy actress. Why would she do this horror shitty movie?" And it's like, and she said this was one of her favorite roles. And one of the best movies.
She did a great job with acting on reaction and her facial expressions really well in this movie. That was the one thing I noticed about her is a lot of her expressions told a lot more than what you could see or what she's looking at or what she might be thinking or whatever. I don't really remember seeing her in much, but this was a really good performance by her, and a lot of it I believe was unspoken. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. That's what I saw when I watched it. She was good. I want to see more movies with her in it now.
I definitely highly recommend Black Narcissus. It was, I think it's on HBO. I have the Criterion, but it's one of the most gorgeous films. Jack Cardiff shot it. Michael Powell, Emmerich Pressburger directed it. They did The Red Shoes. They did
yeah, it's on HBO.
Jack didn't shoot that movie, but they also did The Tales of Hoffman, which is, of course, Romero's favorite movie, or the one he saw when he was a kid, made him want to be a filmmaker. Michael is also the guy that directed Peeping Tom. So he did Red Shoes, Matter of Life and Death. I mean, is one of the great filmmakers. And Black Narcissus is one of the most gorgeous films you'll ever see.
That is available on HBO Max.
Yeah.
So I may have to check that one out. Is it a horror movie?
That's a quick, tricky question because towards the end, it does become kind of a thriller and kind of scary imagery. Like people, like I used to post photos about it on my page. A lot of people said, "I thought that was a horror movie." I'm like, "Well, it is and it isn't, but it is. It doesn't really have a label that way." But something happens towards the end that kind of shoves it into a horror direction.
So, do you want to do your Amazon reviews real fast, and then we'll Nate's Amazon reviews. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it. Mitch Powers, 1 star. Don't bother with it. What a waste of time. David, 1 star. What? I love psychological type horror movies like The Haunting, so I thought I'd like this one as well. After dozing through a lot of the movie, all I could say at the end was, "What in the world did I just watch?" You really never get any kind of answers, or for that matter, any real clue as to what is in the wide world of sports went on here. As the kids Are the kids possessed? Is the nanny? Does the housekeeper know more than she lets on? How about the uncle? Where, if anywhere, does he fit in? About the most fun to be had watching this movie would be to take a drink every time one of the children said, "My dear." At least,
Sorry.
yeah.
That actually might be kind of fun.
Well, yeah.
After I read this article, I was like, well, it's only said like 2 or 3 times. At least then you'd get something out of this horrid movie. If you must, rent this for the 99-cent rack. Don't go over that. So he's like, where does the uncle play into this? He doesn't. He says in the beginning, like, I don't care about these kids.
Yeah,
I'm just that heartless. Yeah, he goes, I don't give a shit. You know, I was stuck with them. I like to be in the city. I like to chase women. And that's basically his thing.
I mean, yeah, he laid it out pretty well.
His purpose is that she has purpose to be there and stay there and take care of these kids because no one else will. And the kids, even the boy, the scene where he cries in bed saying what it's like to not have someone who doesn't want you or doesn't care about you. And it's one of the like tender moments in the film. She goes over and wipes the tear off his eye of Sheik, and you know, it's that's the point of his character, is that he is a guy who got the children from, I guess, his sister's death or something, and he just doesn't have time or concern to take care of them. But he's rich, so he puts them in this house that he owns that he never goes to, and says, "All right, it's good governess to watch over them and take care of them, raise them for me."
Yeah, the uncle is a non-issue. He's like the hiring manager, basically.
Yeah.
By the way, the Innocence is only $20.73 on Amazon for the Criterion. So, in my cart.
Yeah, I'll probably pick up when they do the 50% sale, like in the winter, I think.
Yeah.
I know they do it twice a year.
Yeah.
There was another set that I was looking forward to, but that was not horror related.
Then we don't care, Jared. We don't care.
We talk about all movies on the show anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
But
it was the It. Seth
It?
knows what it was.
What was it?
The Infernal Affairs trilogy.
Oh, yeah. What The Departed was based on.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So what else do we want to say about The Innocents? We talked a little bit about the cinematography.
Oh, I do have some other reviews. Sorry.
Oh yeah,
go ahead. Okay. Brian Cabana, 1 star. Holy crap! I'm watching this now. It's on TCM. What a badly acted. I suppose badly written. Hence the bad acting. The children, especially lousy actors. The girls scream, cry, and on for what seemed like 20 minutes. Miss Kerr, eyes wide open, jaw skew like she's going to throw up, is good acting by some standards. If the music is supposed to be scary, it's not, with that incessant piano tinkling and drum beats and the alien movie music. It's about as scary as Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Oh my God.
He's so wrong, man.
Oh.
I mean, I love the opening with the little girl singing Weeping Willow and like the hands.
And the screen was completely black.
In the black.
Yeah.
It's creepy. And I almost like wonder, like, that's how the movie ends and begins. I'm wondering, like, has she been sent to prison or something? Like, is she praying? Because, like, the boy did die in her care. And, like, how did he die? Or, I don't know. Like, she's responsible. Or is it just that she's, I don't know. But the hands in that darkness coming out is a creepy image, and that he's singing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that opening.
There's no explanation for that I can find.
Okay, another 1 star. Disappointing at best. The Innocent says it all. There was not a lot of talent, other than a few of the actors, displayed throughout this movie. This movie was not at all what I expected, and a big yawn. No talent, huh?
I got nothing.
Choppy story, not scary and not particularly well done. Was recommended as scary, but having been made in the 1960s, not scary at all. Choppy story at best.
How's it choppy? I don't
know. 2 stars, not up to today's standards.
It's not a today film, person.
What are today's standards? A really boring film. The Innocents DVD movie, 2 stars. Not a great movie. I suppose it was considered good for its time. The acting was horrible, as were many movies in 1961, I suppose. I was bored with it. Hey, Yo Jimbo came out in 1961. I was bored with it halfway through. I love old movies, but this one's not on my list of favorites. I don't recommend it. I don't remember. See, this could be Haunting. I'll just read them all. This could be Haunting or it's Innocence. Watching this as a recommendation, and it was boring, and the acting was terrible. The quality was too distracting. So just watch the newer version, which is scarier, anyways.
The quality was too distracting.
Yeah, I think that was probably The Haunting. Okay, so yeah, I got 2 for The Haunting. You want me to read those, or before we go into it?
Yeah, may as well.
Okay. 1 star for The Haunting, more like a stage play than a movie. There have been... It's so cinematic. How's that a stage play? There have been many horror films made in the same era as this movie that had imaginative special effects. A high school drama club could have made a production on par with this film.
Nay. Nay.
A high school drama club could have pulled off The Haunting better than or as good as these people, or on the same level. I tell you, people who judge movies and have no idea how to make movies should not be writing reviews. Terrible. Just one of the junk movies. I don't understand why they transfer such a movie to Blu-ray. So there you go. That's the most intelligent people online's opinion of these 2 films.
So as a horror fan and a film fan, really, I think The Innocents is a must-see film overall. Its direction, writing, and acting are all top-notch, especially for 1961, and especially Deborah Kerr and the boy child. The boy child. Yeah. You know what I mean.
My dear.
Yeah, my dear. Yeah, and yeah, we're gonna make a drinking game of my dear. I guess it does sound excessive, but it probably wasn't that
You're
bad.
far too pretty for glasses, my dear.
So yeah, I think I liked it. It was a surprise again that it took me so long to see this one, especially seeing it on a lot of top 20, top 25 lists. So, anybody have anything further before we move on to The Haunting? Seth, anything?
I mean, the character, she's kind of fucked after this story anyway. I mean, she practically traumatized 2 children. One of them died. You got the housekeeper who was being like, she's talking about ghosts. So she definitely went into a psych ward after.
Yeah. She feels like she won and did good, but she just totally fucked it up. She was like, her whole thing was, I'm going to take care of these kids. One's traumatized and screaming for days. And the other one dies out of less panic or overwhelming shock or something.
Jared, what about you before we move on?
It's a good flick. I'll leave it at that. You guys should watch it. Honestly, if you're watching this, if there's anybody watching right now, just watch it. Seriously, it's free on YouTube. Just watch it.
And even if you have, and you maybe didn't think a lot of it, or you did like it, but again, there's so much you can discover from rewatching it, because there's so much. I mean, you're not going to grab it the first time unless you've read the book, I guess.
I'm curious about the book.
It's a short book, so I'm thinking about. It's on. You can read it online for free if they're a library, stuff like that. I get the PDF because I already got it on my phone. I was going to read it before, but I wanted to watch the movie again and pick up stuff.
Yeah,
it's like 130 pages or something.
Oh wow, that's it.
Yeah.
I think Lombardo's book's longer than that. 181. Yeah, yeah, I definitely suggest The Innocents and The Haunting, and that's what we're going to move on to now is talk about 1963's The Haunting. I had a picture I was going to pull up. There it is. Bam, The Haunting. Theo and Eleanor, or Nell.
That's a good one.
Look at this stage play.
I like that picture a lot.
Yeah,
It's like a drama club did that.
I know. Well, high school, junior high, really.
Claire Bloom.
So I've seen The Haunting a few times over the years. I did see the original, the 1999 one in the theater
Me too.
because of this movie. That was a waste of $7 or $8 or whatever it was. I got to tell you, the casting in that movie, Owen Wilson was awful, and what's her name, Lily Taylor, whatever. I couldn't stand her in The Haunting. So
Was it Liam Neeson who played the guy that brought him there? Is that who it was?
Marquand or whatever.
Catherine Zeta-Jones was Theo.
Theo, yeah. I actually thought she was cast pretty well.
She's perfect for that role, really.
Yeah, but I don't know. This one though is one. It kind of it's like a better William Castle movie to me sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's elements of it that remind me of a Castle movie, but at the same time, with the cinematography and again the set design, and I really like the cast, especially the doctor, because of how much of aloof he was. It's a really good movie, and again for horror fans, the 1963 Haunting is a must. If you're going to be a horror fan, I suggest seeing these two movies.
Man, you got Robert Wise, who's one of the great filmmakers. This guy I think he just won the Oscar for West Side Story. He directed that just before this movie, and then he went on and did Sound of Music after this one. And he did like Star Trek, the motion picture. And this guy's had a huge, long career and directed some really, really big movies. And he's known as a master of what he does. And but a high school production guy could do it.
So one of the things when I was watching last night, I wanted to ask about, and this even goes back to the 1999 version, is Nell just not likable?
I don't. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Julie. It's Julia Harris, right? She's the one who plays Nell, and she was like she's most known for probably this and East of Eden with James Dean. So she was a co-star. I don't know. I just thought, well, maybe it's just because James Dean's so fucking amazing that she just pales by comparison. But I can't say I love her much.
I mean, she wasn't great in this movie, and I found her rather annoying throughout the movie. Like I said, the other characters weren't as bad. The cast was pretty good, and the doctor Marquand or whatever his name was I liked him quite a bit. And Theo was fun, but she was over the top and like I don't know. Maybe that's why I didn't like Lily Tyler or whatever her name is.
Theo's a really interesting character because she's gay, and they're putting that in there, but they're not saying it right after this 1963, and so there's so many things where she's saying. If you watch her performance and listen to what she says, it's slyly getting through there, like things she says to Nell, and like, oh well, she keeps saying that thing, well, like sisters. And like when she sees that the doctor is married, she's like, I tried to tell you, I tried to warn you. Like there's a lot of people who read into this movie, and apparently it's there that really Nell is gay and she's not come out.
Very repressed.
Yeah,
again.
she's a very sexual repressed character.
I could see that.
And I think she's maybe attracted to the doctor and Theo in some ways, but doesn't know how to feel about that or how to go about that because she's been locked up taking care of her mother, and she's pretty like the way her family treats her. She's not mentally stable. She's very fragile and very sheltered. Doesn't really know how to exist in the real world. And she doesn't want to be in the real world.
Yeah,
she doesn't want to be in the real world.
That's the thing that she seems to struggle with the entire movie, and by the end, she feels like she found her place when she's forced out. Yeah.
She's totally fucking lost on reality at that point.
Yeah. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I want other people to talk. I can run.
Yeah. Well, let's get some impressions overall. Like, I like The Haunting overall. Like I said, it's an ensemble piece more than anything to me. It does follow Nell's character more than anything, and obviously she narrates through a lot of the movie, so it does follow her. But you get to know the other three characters quite a bit, and even Moneypenny, who's in it as well, which she has a fun like. Some of the scenes I could see again why somebody would be scared in the 60s, like at the top of the staircase when she sees Lois Maxwell, she peeks her head out of that little hidey hole and she looks all crazed, and I laugh. But, in the 60s, that I could see how that could give somebody a fright. And there's a couple of really great scenes like that one I showed with the statue of Hugh Crane. I think I prefer Scary Movie 2 to this. No, because you remember that was anyway. But no, this really well directed film. I like. You go back to cinematography and The Innocents. This has, I think, really good cinematography as well.
Very, very good.
Yeah, and as I talk about a lot with these older movies, the set direction is fantastic in this movie. I really love the look of the house and how different the rooms look. And I like when the doctor's explaining that there's no right angle in the house, and like the doors shut on their own. Yeah, I really think that's really cool. And there's certain things that are like horror. Ghost story staples that are in this. You got the banging on the wall, the giggling children. That I wonder if some of these stories you hear like through the years came from the story of The Haunting. I think this is a key ghost story movie for sure. In the horror. Whatever,
we're talking about Shirley Jackson. It's one of the great. I read a funny. It's funny that we're doing this because I came across a meme about Shirley Jackson today, and it was her response to a reader who was criticizing her, a critical reader, and she said, I think it's like, "Dear Mrs. White, if you don't like the taste of my peaches, don't shake my tree." Shirley Jackson. Stop shaking my tree.
That's awesome.
Have you seen the movie about Shirley Jackson that Elizabeth Moss played? It came out last year. It's on. She plays Shirley Jackson in it.
Oh wow!
I think it may be when she was writing this or the lottery.
Let me look it up. Elizabeth Moss from Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, I think it's just called Shirley.
So Seth, let's hear your impressions of The Haunting. Was this a first time watch for you? Because I know you said a lot of the older stuff from the 60s and 50s you hadn't really gotten the chance to see a lot of them.
No, I've seen this one before. My first experience with it was actually with the remake, and that's what kind of got me into wanting to see the original. It's a good movie. It's based on a really good book. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, so Shirley came out in 2020, and it's on Hulu if anybody is interested in watching it.
I think I've seen a trailer for that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was about that Shirley.
Neither did I. I have to watch it. Yeah, I know, Seth. These type of movies aren't really your bread and butter. The ghost stories. You're different when it not different. Well, you are different in a lovely way, darling. But
lovely way, darling.
But anyway,
my dear,
I get it, my dear. Yeah, there you go, my dear. Jared, what about you? You a fan of The Haunting?
I think I told you guys off camera that I fell asleep a couple times watching this one, and that's not.
So did I. Yeah.
And that is not for lack of that's not for boredom or lack of interest or anything like that.
Sure.
I think because this movie
third hour shifts are
to be fair.
Pitter patter.
Third shifts suck, and it makes for no fun during the day.
Right.
But I think Nate putting these two movies together, I think this would be a perfect drive-in theater double feature. Yeah. Like I said, I did have to rewind it a couple of times, but I mean, the last 20 minutes of the film, just like the last 20 minutes of The Innocents, are pretty balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Like, they both have that certain effect. Even back then in the 60s, like, you're like, oh my God. I mean, yeah, it's not going to hold up necessarily 100% today, but I mean, there's not a lot of films. We've already talked about those films, the ones that literally hold up today. There's not a whole lot from that time period.
Yeah, and like movies that come before it, were they ever that, like, people talk about these cliches, all this, but like they forget these movies invented those things, or they started those things.
Yeah.
And like at that time, man, like that scene where she's hearing the children being beaten, and you see the ornate, the wall or the door or whatever, it looks like a face.
Yeah, it slowly turns into a face. Yeah.
Yeah, and you hear it, and she thinks that Theo's crushing her hand out of fear, and then it comes up, and Theo's across the room, and she looks at her hand, and she's like,
who's holding my hand?
Who was gripping my hand?
She was in bed with Theo prior to that. Yeah.
And that's a creepy fucking scene. And I think that's what, like, these movies, if you try to put yourself in that time period of what had come before that, I mean, this is just right after Psycho.
Yeah. And
my wife even said, I'm getting Psycho vibes, like the part where she first arrives, and the guy at the gate, she pulls off, and he's like, hey, or whatever, she stops, like, and then she drives off, and she has that inner monologue kind of thing going. It's like,
well, even at the end of the movie, when she gets in the car, and she's talking about how she belongs in the house, and the doctor's wife is taking her place, and I'll show them, and then she drives off. That gave me Norman Bates at the end of the movie. Like, they'll say he can't even hurt a fly or whatever. You know, it kind of gave me this. Yeah, I could see that as well, especially the inner monologue narration of the movie. I could see a lot of from Psycho for sure.
It's a very, very, very sad movie with her character, because she really doesn't have a place in the world. It's just a tragic character.
She sleeps on her sister's couch.
And like her like niece is laughing at her, and like the way they're treating like she's a child, and she really does have nowhere to go. She doesn't want to leave, and I think she kills herself. I think he's right at the end. I think she did. This goes into the whole: is it paranormal or is it ghost? There's something in the movie that makes me think it could just be her. And the reason I think that is because the reason she was chosen was the guy said that he had read about her house being hit by stones, which reminded me of Carrie.
Yeah.
And he talks about psychokinesis and things moving on their own. Do you think she has telekinetic powers? Do you think she is causing these things to move and these noises?
Like the noises, yeah.
Because we never see a ghost.
Well, do you think that
we never see anything? We just hear things banging and moving.
Do you think Theo heard the thing banging? Because the guys that hear, they heard like a dog or a wolf outside, right? So do you think that Theo heard the banging, or do you think it was just Nell and Theo reacting to Nell?
It could be Theo just responding to Nell's anxiety or what she's conjuring up.
I could see that.
Because if you think about like the scene when he's showing the house and they get to the library and she can't even go in. She stops dead in her tracks because of the smell or whatever, the library. You're like, is that? And then, eventually she's dancing. She thinks she's dancing with Hugh Crane. And, it's like, yeah, I wonder. I never thought about that. It could be all in her head.
If you want to look at it that way, it supports itself, because like when she does think she sees a ghost, it's the guy's wife. Both times. So
who just got lost in the house, which makes sense. Yeah, the house was like a maze. They mentioned that.
Yeah. So there's, I think it's open to interpretation that it's all coming from Nell.
Which in the 1999 movie, they lean heavily on it being a ghost, the ghost of the Hugh Crane, and the house is haunted. But this one, it definitely lends itself to interpretation a lot, especially with who like I said, it feels like an ensemble piece, but it definitely centers on Nell, and you know what she's thinking, you know what's going on in her head, and you know her past and how much she wants to be wanted, and she's got this hair trigger of being ridiculed, like even when she's not being ridiculed, you know, like yeah, I think I wonder if she's bipolar or something, you know, like I wonder if
She does like have a moment, that one moment where doesn't is it Theo who says something to her about maybe I don't think you killed your mother, and she like turns and goes.
yes,
She says
yeah,
like her voice changes, her whole
hmm
demeanor changes. Like
yeah,
she fucking stands up to her. The only time she really does in the movie, she changes.
yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I definitely think that there's something mentally wrong with Nell, and it could be from the abuse from her mother. You know,
It's one
her.
of the backstories has that right with the woman hitting the cane on the
Hmm.
wall and
Well, she
not
said that like
responding.
when she heard the banging the first time, she thought it was her mom and knocked on the wall.
Yeah.
You remember? Yeah. So I like. Yeah, I definitely think there. This was more. Now that I'm thinking about it, watching the movie, I definitely thought it was a ghost story. But like thinking about it more, is she might just be mentally disturbed from her, you know, like trauma.
And it's causing things to happen, like Carrie White.
Yeah.
Her emotions trigger these things, and suddenly doors are banging, and then doors are swelling, and the doorknobs are turning. So that's the extent of what we see paranormal wise.
Yeah, but how much of that was in her head?
Yeah,
That's
that as well.
yeah, based on some of the things that you're saying, it feels like some of that is in her head, and there's a
And like
strong argument for that.
you said, the guys didn't hear anything,
Hmm.
and again, suggestion and things like that. Theo could have just been feeling or catching things from her imagination, her mind going, the
Right.
energy in the room
I mean, they've
upsetting
done
her.
like in they mentioned it in Elm Street 3, like a group psychosis. I mean, it could be something along those lines with Nell and Theo. I mean, you probably have, like, you talked about the ghosts in your house, and it may not have been something that's maybe your parents didn't believe, but if you sell it enough, and I'm not saying Nell was selling anything, but if you believe enough, you could convince other people to believe what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's like selling.
Well, it's like if you go into, just as an example, not to be, sacrilegious or whatever. If you go to a church and people are feeling the Holy Spirit and the whole room is full of that energy, you're gonna feel something physically,
Yeah.
and maybe even emotionally.
Hmm.
Even though you may not be a believer, because they believe so much, you're going to feel that. Just like a band on stage feels energy
Yeah.
from the crowd, or that kind of thing, where
Yep.
we do feel shit from people.
It's a goosebump feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more now that you mentioned that, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I do think this might be all psychological with Nell. I'll be right back. I got to get some more water.
That's what makes it feel. Go ahead, Seth.
Yes.
It's been a while since I've read the book. I do really like Shirley Jackson. But it's been a while since I read the book. But I mean, I just take the story at face value.
I think they're supposed to be ghosts. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think it is a haunting.
Yeah.
But as a writer, if we can add that ambiguity of is it or isn't it?
Right, and that's why I'm saying, like,
I
feel like I kind of need to, like, double check with the book, like reread the book or whatever, and just see, what sort of things that Shirley Jackson drops, because obviously, we all know with anything written, you can go into a lot more with a character and, the themes and sort of the subtle things that you can just kind of drop in and layer.
Oh yeah, 1,000.
Yeah. I mean, I do think the answer is that it's haunted. They spent so much time building up the history of the place and the way the maid and the groundskeeper talk about the place, and no one will ever stay here. People can't stay more than a day or two in Hill House. Either that's true or that's all bullshit to keep people away, or trespassers, or whatever away. But I do think its intention is that yes, there are ghosts that's haunted, and we're just not showing you because we want to go without doing that. And we like he said, we don't want to go the William Castle route where we see a skeleton and a woman floating and all that. Even though House on Haunted Hill they weren't ghosts, right? I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it, but it wasn't it just to make somebody crazy? It's been a while since I saw it.
Yeah,
I don't think there were actual ghosts in House on Haunted Hill, but
I want to say it was all
original?
an actual thing.
yeah.
The original wasn't Ghost, I don't believe.
Yeah, it's all staged for
To get that money.
Eventually, we're gonna have to do a House on Haunted Hill and 13 Ghosts show. I like both of those movies. I'm sure that right up Seth's alley. He's probably like this, chomping at the bit to talk about some more ghost story movies.
I like those ones.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah. I do like some ghost story stuff. It's just not like I'm not like huge into it. I mean, one of my favorites is probably Stir of Echoes.
Stir of Echoes is good. That's underrated for sure.
Yeah.
And Kevin Bacon, he's made a lot more horror movies than you'd think.
Mm-hmm.
Especially recently, he's been in a couple. They, Them, and then
They and Them, and
yeah.
he did the Hollow Man one, which was fun.
That was a fun movie. I believe Seth did a review for theHorrorSyndicate.com for that one way back. Where were we? Sorry, I had to get some water and I had to wash my cap because I dropped it in the fucking dog food.
I don't know if we have any more to add. I don't.
I think, well, I'll say these two movies, and I want to get your guys' opinions on The Innocents and The Haunting. Are they required viewing for horror fans? Yes or no, Nate?
Oh, 100%.
Seth?
Yeah, I think so.
And Jared?
Yeah. If I said different, would you guys still love me?
Yes.
Yes, my dear.
Yes, my dear. The love that I have for you never dies, my friend. Just like St. Elmo's Fire, my. Anyway, that's our song. Anyway, you remember we were driving to Indianapolis to Horror Hound, and that song came on as we were passing a town called St. Elmo, Illinois. It's really cool. And me and Jared were singing along in the middle of the night. It was awesome. Anyway, so check out The Haunting. Neither of them are streaming for free. You'd have to rent them if you're going to rent them. They're definitely worth watching.
Oh, The Innocents is on YouTube.
Yeah, it's free on YouTube.
And the Criterion version of
it's really good. It's crisp, good sound. Definitely watch it on your TV if you can do YouTube on your TV like I did. I really enjoyed The Innocents more than I expected to. It is one that I keep seeing in the top list. I'm ready. I think now I went at the top of the show, looked back. We did not do a top 10 60s show last year when we did all of our top. We need to do a 60s one, I think. I already know what number one is, but adding The Innocents to the list and The Haunting and number one Psycho, without a doubt.
It's just playing devil's advocate, throwing some extra entries in there.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, like the last couple years since 2019, I've been watching a lot more from the 60s. I know Nate's been watching a lot of older movies in the last few years, but I've been trying to watch more 50s and 60s and even earlier than that. I'm still behind on the 40s because harder to find streaming. But anyway, yeah, I think we all suggest both these movies, so check them out if you can. Is there anything else you want?
Something I thought about. You're talking about the guy who shot. Was it? I can't remember. Maybe it's the guy that directed this one, The Haunting. He did the Cat People sequel. He worked with Val Luton,
Oh shit.
I believe. I think it was Robert Wise.
I was gonna look that up. I didn't know there was a sequel to Cat People.
I did not either. I was today years old.
Oh Lord, I don't understand how that works. By the way,
What, being today years old?
yeah, like I was today this many years old when I found out about such and such. It's like what?
It's just kind of like getting your mind blown. Yes, I was
Yeah.
0 years old when that happened.
Like I've lived a long time and just figured this shit out.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, the guy that played the guy that owns the house, I guess, or is inheriting it, is Ambler Tamlin's dad.
Really?
Yeah.
Amber Tamblyn. Wow, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Yeah,
They were
her
both
dad's
at
with Rudy
yeah,
Tamblyn.
They were both in Django Unchained, I believe.
Yeah, I can't find that movie. Is it called? What is it called? Is it Cat People 2?
Oh, no, I forget what it's called.
Just IMDb Val Newton.
I've even seen it.
You have?
Yeah, but a long time ago.
Like Return of the Cat People or something.
So it's something like that, Curse of the Cat People,
Curse the Cat People.
1944.
Okay.
Yeah, Robert Wise.
Okay, yeah, I kind of want to see that. I've never seen it before.
Yeah, Robert Wise co-directed it. Robert also directed, we already talked about West Side Story, Star Trek, Sound of Music. He directed The Hindenburg, The Sand Pebbles, Somebody Up There Likes Me, which is a movie I really like with Paul Newman. It's kind of like, if you like Rocky and you haven't seen this movie, you gotta see this movie, because Stallone definitely watched this movie. It was supposed to be James Dean, but he passed away before they made it. So Paul Newman got the part. It's one of his early roles. He directed The Day the Earth Stood Still, Born to Kill, the Body Snatcher with Boris Karloff.
A good one.
And he did some sequences after Orson Welles on The Magnificent Ambersons.
So a few movies to check out for anybody who's interested in checking them out. Luke, have a good night this week. Sorry if I missed you. What are we talking about next week, fellas?
Forget.
I'm trying to remember what we had on our schedule. We had Green Room, I know, for a little bit.
I think Green Room is going to be pushed because we're going to do that Your Vice and that other movie, Nate. What is it called?
It was The Lighthouse is what we're doing next week.
The Lighthouse. Okay, so next week we'll be talking about The Lighthouse. I think it's streaming on Prime right now. It's a movie I've not seen yet, and I've been meaning to see for however many years now. Came out in 2019. Yeah, 2019.
You haven't seen it yet?
No, I like been meaning to watch it, but for some reason I never do. But it's definitely one that's been on my list because I know Pattinson pulls out a great performance, and so does Willem Dafoe, and I like both of them quite a bit. So, Seth, have you ever seen The Lighthouse? No. Are you interested in seeing The Lighthouse?
Yeah.
Okay. I know Nate liked it. Jared, did you like it?
Pull off great performances.
Yeah, it's another black and white one for us.
It's definitely a period piece.
Yeah.
No
and then,
aspect.
let me look at the list real fast because I think after that we're supposed to do the.
Got kicked off.
We're supposed to do hold, please. But yes, if you can see The Lighthouse, Seth, I love it.
I just can't touch my table here. No, I think we're supposed to do that elevated horror show next week, but I don't think we're going to. And we're going to be doing the Your advice is a locked door, and only I have the key. And I keep forgetting the other name of the movie. Delirium.
Delirium.
Yeah.
1979.
Yep.
So perhaps we'll do that, and then the last week of September we're going to recap the Universal Creature from the Black Lagoon movies, which I know Seth's looking forward to that for sure. And then in October we're going to be Universal pretty much all month, and except for Halloween. And so get ready for some more black and whites. You guys excited about October?
Oh, I am. I mean, we haven't really discussed a lot of Universal horror films. I mean, other than the true staple films, obviously.
Yeah, but I don't think we've ever done a show on them. By the way, I posted my list of the top 10 films in 1980, and I left The Changeling off, which was a mistake. I actually watched that last night, The Changeling, and I still left it off my list that I wrote today. So that was pretty cool. So I need to amend that list because the Changeling. Have you guys seen The Changeling?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. George C. Scott is a fucking powerhouse in that movie. He's such a delightful actor in that movie, which is some of the movies I've seen him in, like especially a movie like Exorcist 3. He's kind of like got that gravelly, rough voice. And
fucking Patton, man.
Patton, yeah, exactly.
He's a guy with big presence and big voice. And, like, he's my favorite Scrooge in the Scrooge movies. And
he's a big guy, too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But, The Changeling is one of the best from 1980, for sure. The year I was born. Let me ask you this before we go. What do you think is the best movie from the year you were born? For me, it's The Shining, without a doubt.
Horror-wise?
Yeah, horror-wise. If we go best movie, period, it'd be Empire Strikes Back. So...
Well, my favorite movie from my birth year is Taxi Driver, which could be called a horror film. But horror-wise, Carrie, I think, is my favorite horror film.
Which we still haven't discussed. We should discuss Carrie instead of the 20 elevated movies. We haven't done Carrie yet.
Yeah.
Let's do Carrie. We'll do that after next week.
So my birth date would either be Poltergeist or The Thing.
Okay.
What would you pick?
Poltergeist. I love The Thing. I think it's a great movie and everything, but I'm in love with Poltergeist. I
am too.
Adore that movie. All right, 1983. Seth, what about you? Cujo?
Psycho 2 or Christine.
Ooh. Psycho 2. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. So next week we will be talking about The Lighthouse, Pattinson, and so you got Batman and a guy who should have been the Joker years ago. Willem Dafoe would never need makeup except for maybe just a little bit of permaclown, some white makeup. He
really wouldn't.
My God, he missed his calling, didn't he? Besides that, I love Willem Dafoe. I can watch him in just about anything he's in. One of my favorite roles of his is actually a newer movie called Odd Thomas. He was really great in that movie, and it's like you wouldn't expect it. But have you guys? I know you've seen it, Seth. Because,
that's the Dean Koontz thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Dafoe's one of those actors that just elevates the movie as soon as you see he's in it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he does a lot of small parts sometimes, and it just like a Woody Harrelson. You know, Woody Harrelson pops in movies every now and then. You're like, oh, sorry, got better.
He was fantastic as the detective in American Psycho. Also, he was really good in that movie.
Or the best thing about Boondock Saints, really. You know.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Boondock Saints.
I loved the Florida Project. I think
I've not seen that one.
Years. It's one of, but you know, my first time seeing him was probably in Streets of Fire. He was a villain. He's fucking scary in that movie. He looks like a damn vampire. And then Platoon, of course, is where he really became a star. He was amazing in Platoon.
Well, he was in Shadow of the Vampire, so you know, I'm looking forward to it. Pattinson again, you know, we've seen him in those Twilight movies, but he's a really pretty badass actor, and he did a great job playing Batman. So I'm really looking forward to seeing The Lighthouse this week. Hopefully, I'll watch it Friday when I have no kids here. It's always better to watch movies when there's nobody around, and you put your phone down. Don't look at your phone.
Definitely a movie you want to put your phone down.
Yeah. put your phone down, pay attention to the movie. That's another reason why people probably don't like The Innocents or The Haunting, is they're too busy looking at their phone and trying to figure out who's in what and all that bullshit. Which I'm guilty of doing that too, but I usually do that in a second viewing or after I'm done watching the movie. Anyway, so next week, The Lighthouse, for Nate, Jared, and Seth Rooney. We will see you guys next week. Have a great weekend, and make sure you watch some horror and The Lighthouse, which is streaming on Amazon Prime right now. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you after Labor Day. Don't wear white.